An argument commonly espoused by the liberal elites is that people don't really need what they purchase. They purport that society has instead been tricked by the corporations and been brainwashed by capitalism. In reality, the liberal elites only have the time and luxury to complain about capitalism once capitalism has provided for the citizenry the basic necessities of life. Not surprisingly, these arguments are not made in third world countries where people are starving to death. Nevertheless, Noam Chomsky continues this baseless argument in The Corporation.
The goal for the corporations is to maximize profit and market share, and they also have a goal for their target, namely the population. They have to be turned into completely mindless consumers of goods that they do not want. You have to develop what are called created wants. So you have to create wants. You have to impose on people what's called a philosophy of futility. You have to focus them on the insignificant things of life, like fashionable consumption. I'm just basically quoting business literature, and it makes perfect sense. The ideal is to have individuals who are totally dissociated from one another, whose conception of themselves, the sense of value, is just how many created wants can I satisfy.
The basic argument that people like Noam Chomsky continuously make is that people are just too stupid to know what they want. The fact of the matter is, by providing your neighbor with goods and services, you help society.
Look at all that money the widget builder has taken in from the sale of his widgets.
We have huge industries, public relations industries, monstrous industry, advertising and so on, which are designed from infancy to try to mold people into this desired pattern.
When I was researching the takeover of public space, when I started off, I thought, okay, this is just advertising. We've always had advertising. It's just more advertising. But what I started to understand, and what I understand now, is that branding is not advertising, it's production. And very successful corporations, the corporations of the future, do not produce products. They produce brand meaning. The dissemination of the idea of themselves is their act of production. And the dissemination of the idea of themselves is an enormously invasive project. So how do you make a brand idea real? Well, a good place to start is by building a three-dimensional manifestation of your brand. For a company like Disney, it goes even further, where it's actually building a town, Celebration, Florida.
Currently, there are about 5,000 residents who call Celebration home, and there are about 1,300 single-family homes. A town center that's a place where people gather that has about 4 or 5 restaurants and about a dozen other shops.
Their inspiration, their brand image, is the all-American family and being
It seems to be that this is what Naomi Klein is very accustomed to doing. She takes a very simple concept about society and she acts as if it's some sort of puzzle that she discovered. I hate to break it to Ms. Klein and the makers of this film, but branding is not something evil, it's not something invasive. It's a way that people sell products and stay in business. For many people, the thought of living in a Disney community just sounds stupid. But for other people, they find it a very family-oriented place to live, and so they choose to live in these type of places, or they choose to buy these type of products. These brand images are nothing more than signals to society of a particular image that the company wants to portray. Disney happens to portray a family-oriented business that signals to parents that their type of product is okay for children. This is not a riddle that Naomi Klein just cracked.
It speaks of tradition, it speaks of quality, and you can see that here in this community that we've built.
And that's where you see the truly imperialist aspirations of branding, which is about building these privatized, branded cocoons, which maybe you start by shopping in and then you continue by holidaying in, but eventually, why not just move in?
What happens if we wake up one day and we find out that virtually all of our relationships that are mediated between us and our fellow human beings are commercial? we find out that virtually every relationship we have is a commercially arbitrated relationship with our fellow human being. Can civilization survive on that narrow a definition of how we interact with each other?
Wow. What a dream.
The last time that this guy was in the film, he talked about the benefits of the commons, which was absolutely disgusting considering that the commons led to death, famine, and chaos. Now he's pulling arguments that, if anyone read the book, is literally right out of the Communist Manifesto, arguing that all human relationships is nothing but commercial and there are no real true relationships. The fact of the matter is that commercial relationships is simply cooperation between neighbors. People can produce goods and services on their own so that they can survive, or they can choose to provide those goods and services for their neighbor if they find it to be more valuable. To answer his absurd question, yes, society can survive if people are only engaged in commercial relationships. And people always have that last choice of choosing not to engage in a commercial relationship. This is nothing but an absurd argument.
Stay tuned as I pick apart Canada's #1 documentary.